Stop looking for the predator in the dark alleys or among the loud, aggressive outliers. In the clinical terminal of the architect, the most dangerous social predators are the ones standing in the light, wearing the most perfect masks of helpfulness, empathy, and friendship. A wolf that snarls is a threat you can manage. A wolf that offers you a blanket is the one that will end your sovereignty. You have been raised to trust warmth and agreeableness, but these are often just the aesthetic choices of a unit that is currently auditing your vulnerabilities. The predator in disguise doesn't want to fight you, he wants to harvest you. And to do that, he must first disable your defensive firmware through the illusion of shared interests. The architecture of the mask starts with love bombing and rapid integration. Look at the unit that enters your life and immediately tries to accelerate the timeline of trust. They share vulnerable secrets, they offer unsolicited help, and they mirror your values with suspicious precision. This is neuro-linguistic infiltration. They are creating a synthetic bond to bypass your 8-year forged instincts. They want you to feel understood so that you stop being vigilant. Your experience in the vacuum taught you that true value takes years to build, yet you still fall for the person who claims to be your brother after 3 weeks. This is a biological exploit. The predator is injecting a dopamine-heavy sedative into your social sensors so he can begin the resource extraction without resistance. Understand the status audit disguised as concern. A predator in disguise is a master of the subtle interrogation. They don't ask about your bank account or your 450 strikes direct. They ask about your stress, your plans, and your struggles. They are mapping the cracks in your fortress. Every time you kindly vent to a disguised predator, you are handing them the keys to your containment system. They are looking for the point where your discipline is thin, where your nice guy defect is still active, and where your isolation has made you hungry for validation. They aren't listening, they are indexing. They are waiting for the moment when your utility peaks so they can liquidate you for their own expansion. The mirage of altruism is the final layer of the disguise. This unit is always the fixer. They find small problems in your life and solve them before you even ask. This creates a reciprocity debt, a psychological weight that makes you feel obligated to return the favor. But in the terminal of the architect, there is no such thing as an unsolicited favor. It is a tactical investment. They are buying a piece of your future sovereignty for the price of a temporary convenience. By the time you realize you are being harvested, the debt is so high that your conscience prevents you from cutting the leash. This is how the bear divas and marauders operate. They don't take by force. They take by making you feel that you owe them your life force. Why is the disguised predator so successful? Because the herd has been programmed to your strength and worship song. We have been taught that the man cold and focused is dangerous, while the man charming and agreeable is safe. This is a total inversion of biological reality. The cold man is honest about his perimeter. The charming man is hiding. Your 8 years in the vacuum were a period of sensory recalibration. You learned to see through the noise. Now you must apply that to every friendly face you encounter. If the mask is too perfect, it's because it was manufactured for a specific hunt. The architect doesn't trust vibes. He trusts data consistency. If a unit's behavior doesn't match the historical weight of their action, the mask is active. The screen is glowing. The room is silent. You are performing a mental audit of everyone who has recently entered your perimeter. You are looking past the smiles and the favors and searching for the underlying utility. The nice guy inside you feels cynical for doing this. The architect knows it is survival. A predator in disguise is only dangerous as long as the disguise holds. The moment you see the teeth behind the concern, the power shift occurs. You are no longer the prey. You are the observer who has detected the breach. The audit of their deception is open. We are moving from the mask to the micro signals of intent. You are about to learn how to smell the blood in the water before the first bite. The mask is a sophisticated piece of social software, but it requires constant processing power to maintain. Even the most seasoned predator in disguise cannot achieve 100% uptime. There are micro leaks, glitches in the simulation, where the underlying predatory intent reaches the surface of the nice guy persona. To the untrained eye, these are just awkward moments or bad moves. To the architect, these are the most valuable data points in the entire audit. Your 8 years in the vacuum have refined your senses. You no longer listen to what people say. You watch what their biology does when they think you aren't looking. You are looking for the micro leaks of malice, the brief flashes of the scavenger's teeth before the smile is reinstalled. The most consistent leak is the reaction to unforeseen success. Look closely at the unit you suspect. When you share a victory, the first 100,000, a successful or a moment of absolute, watch their eyes or their mouth starts. There is a microsecond of ocular heart. For a heartbeat, you will see resentment or a clinical calculation success their rest. Then the nice guy software and they offer congratulations. But the data has already been collected. A true ally feels a surge of shared dominance. A disguised predator feels a threat to their harvest. If their first instinct isn't to amplify your fire, they are planning to dampen it. Your success is a chemical irritant to the scavenger, and their biological rejection of your ascent is a leak they cannot hide. Next, we audit the vulture's vigil. This leak occurs when you are at your most vulnerable. Perhaps a strike missed its mark, or you are facing a temporary resource depletion. The disguised predator will be the first one to offer sympathy, but watch the intensity of their presence. They lean in a little too close. Their voice has a subtle, vibrating excitement. They are feeding on the data of your failure. They want to know exactly how deep the wound is so they can calculate the time timing of the final extraction. This is glee disguised as concern. In the wild, the vulture circles before the heart stops beating. In the social grid, the disguised predator offers a shoulder to cry on so they can listen to the internal mechanics of your collapse. If their support feels like an interrogation, it's because they are currently performing a pre-hunt inventory of your remains. The third leak is the inappropriate joke or passive-aggressive slip. Disguised predators often use humor as a delivery system for their malice. They make a joke that cuts a little deep into your 8-year vacuum history or mocks your 450 strike. When you react, they immediately retreat. You're too sensitive. This is a boundary test. They are checking the integrity of your perimeter to see how much disrespect before you activate the every joke at your expense is a microaggression designed to lower your presence of the herd. They are private. They want to see if the architect is still running the nice guy compliance script. If you laugh along with their mockery of your mission, you are telling the predator that your fortress has no guards. Understand the inconsistency of history. A predator in disguise often creates a synthetic past to build rapid rapport. They tell stories of shared struggles that sound a bit too perfect, a bit too aligned with your specific 8-year isolation. Perform a cross-reference audit. Ask for details that require deep, consistent memory. You will notice the cognitive lag, the split second where they have to invent the next piece of the lie. The architect trusts historical weight, not narrative flair. If their story has no calluses, if their struggle didn't leave any scars, it is a fabrication designed to infiltrate your empathy. They are using your own life story as a template to build a Trojan horse. Why do these leaks happen? Because the nice guy mask is an energy-intensive lie, and human biology is designed for honesty. The truth wants to be seen. The predator's hunger is a physical force that eventually overrides their social training. Your 8 years in the vacuum were a period of zero-noise training. You learned to sit in the silence and observe the truth of your own being. Now use that same silence to observe the micro-leaks in others. Don't confront them. Don't point out the leak. Just record the data. The moment you see the flash of malice, the unit is marked. You continue to play the nice guy back at them, using their own bait protocol against them until you are ready to execute the purge. You are the architect, and you have just turned their disguise into a transparent window into their intent. The screen is glowing. The room is silent. You are scanning your recent interactions, replaying them in slow motion in your mind. You are seeing the ocular harden, the vulture's vigil, and the passive-aggressive slips that previous ignored. You are feeling a cold, clinical sense of relief. The nice guy inside you is horrified by the betrayal. The architect is satisfied by the data integrity. You are no longer guessing. You are detecting. The micro-leaks have mapped the minefield for you. You are moving with absolute certainty now because you know exactly where the teeth are hidden. The audit of their malice is complete. We are moving into the purge phase. The discovery of the micro-leaks was only the beginning. Now the architect must perform a clinical structural audit of the extraction logistics. A predator in disguise doesn't just want to be near you, he wants to be fed by you. But unlike the marauder who takes by force, the disguised predator uses the parasitic shadow protocol. He attaches himself to your trajectory and begins to siphon off your velocity while convincing that he is actually helping life. You have been raised to view sharing as a communal virtue, but in the term of the architect, sharing without equal reciprocity is a resource hemorrhage. You must map the extraction channel. You must see the invisible needles that are currently buried soft tissue of your fire. The first extraction channel focused. Look at how the disguised predator maps. They never interrupt. They interrupt urge. They call you 450 strike hours to discuss their idea or a price. Because they are in disguise, they use a soft apology, but the result is the same. Your flow state. This is a deliberate tactic. By breaking your focus, they are prevented from achieving the level of autonomy make them obsessed. They want fragmented, so you stay access. Every quick chat is a micro extraction. The architect knows that focus is the only currency that matters. If someone is consistently spending your time without increasing your power, they aren't an ally. Oni. It's a systemny virus. They are a systemic virus, eating your legacy 1 minute at a time. Next, we audit the status subsidy. A predator in disguise often lacks their own internal authority, so they borrow yours. They want to be seen with you, mentioned by you, and associated with your 8-year vacuum history. They use your nice guy compliance to gain entry into circles they haven't earned. This is social harvesting. They are using your reputation as a bridge to reach targets they couldn't hit on their own. Notice how they kindly introduce you to others, but always position themselves as the gatekeeper or the necessary partner. They are dilute your brand to strengthen their own. If you find yourself constantly validating someone who provides no measurable data or results, you are providing a status subsidy. You are the engine, and they are the parasitic drag, slowing down your ascent to 5 million views while taking half the credit for the movement. The third and most dangerous channel is emotional insurance. The disguised predator uses your kindness as a safety net for their own lack of discipline. When they fail, when they relapse into the beer diver lifestyle, or when their own marauding goes wrong, they come to you for sanctuary. They use your 450 strike stability to balance their own internal chaos. They call it relying on a friend. I call it biological dumping. They are offloading their stress, their guilt, and their instability onto your nervous system so they can continue to avoid the vacuum of self-accountability. You are essentially paying their emotional debt with your peace of mind. Your 8 years of isolation were a period of atmospheric hardening. You learned to survive the pressure of the void. Now the predator is trying to use your hardened hull to protect their own weak unformed core. Understand the zero-sum exchange. Perform a clinical audit of the last 3 months of this relationship. Calculate the hours you've given, the status you've shared, and the emotional energy you've expended. Now look at what the architect has received in return. Is there new data? Is there a measurable increase in your 5 million view trajectory? Is there a fortification of your perimeter? In the world of the disguised predator, the answer is always a net loss. They offer loyalty, which is just code for I'll stay as long as you keep feeding me. They offer friendship, which is just a license to harvest. The architect doesn't deal in intentions, he deals in deliverables. If the relationship is a consistent negative ROI, return on investment, the parasitic shadow is fully active. You aren't helping them grow. You are providing a survival subsidy for their mediocrity. Why is it so hard to cut the shadow? Because the predator has spent months or years mapping your guilt triggers. They know exactly which nice guy buttons to press to make you feel cold or arrogant for protecting your assets. They have turned your own morality into a containment system for your power. But look at the 450 strikes. Those strikes don't care about your feelings. They only care about the impact. To allow a parasitic extraction to continue is to commit treason against the empire. You are allowing the bricks of your future throne to be stolen and used to build a scavenger's hut. The parasitic shadow requires your consent function. The moment you stop acknowledging it of kindness, the extraction stops. The screen is glowing. The room is silent. You are seeing the extraction channels for the first time. You are identifying the focus tags and the status subside. You are feeling a cold, clinical anger, not the hot anger of the victim, but the calculated anger of the architect who has found a flaw in the structural integrity of his building. The nice guy is mourning the loss of a bond. The architect is already preparing the capping procedure. You are going to shut down the valves. You are going to disconnect the needles, and you are going to do it with the same absolute indifference you learned in the vacuum. The audit of the extraction is closed. We are moving to the final stage, the total purge. The audit is finalized. The micro leaks have been recorded, and the extraction channels have been mapped with clinical precision. Now the architect executes the surgical purge. This is not a loud emotional confrontation. That would be a nice guy mistake. Providing the predator with one last harvest of your energy through drama and explanation. In the terminal of the architect, a purge is a silent systemic disconnection. You aren't breaking up with a friend. You are decommissioning an obsolete and hazardous asset. Your 8 years in the vacuum were your training in the art of the absolute no. Now you apply that cold, vacuum-borne pressure to the disguised predator until their mask shatters and they are forced to find a softer, more compliant host. The purge starts with the liquidation of explanations. A disguised predator thrives on your need to be understood and fair. They will use every why and how could you to drag you back into the interruption tax. You must adopt the protocol of zero justification. When you stop providing the nice guy sublayer of reasons for your boundaries, the predator loses their primary handle on your soul. If you say no without an explanation, you are effectively cutting the power to their manipulation software. They cannot reason with a monolith. They cannot guilt a man who has already performed his own internal audit. Your 450 strikes into the dark were your repetitions in silent resolve. Use that silence now as a surgical blade. Let the predator scream into the void of your indifference until they realize there is no more resource to be extracted. Next, we execute the environmental hardening. A predator in disguise survives in the warmth of your accessibility. To purge them, you must turn the temperature of your social grid down to absolute zero. Increase the friction of every interaction. Stop being the convenient unit. If they want your time, make the cost of that time prohibitively high in terms of data, status, or results. When the status subsidy stops, when the focus tax is resisted, and when the emotional insurance is cancelled, the predator will experience resource withdrawal. They will go through a phase of aggressive masking, trying harder to play the nice guy, and then they will snap. They will show the teeth you detected in the micro leaks. This is the moment of total victory. They have been forced to reveal their true frequency. The disguise is dead, and the unit is now visible to the entire grid as a scavenger. Understand the strategy of the phantom. You don't need to banish them. You simply need to move at a velocity they cannot match. The architect's 5 million view empire is built on glacial velocity and terminal focus. By intensifying your mission, by throwing 100% of your energy into the 450 strike barrage, you naturally outpace the parasites. They are low-frequency units. They cannot survive the high-G maneuvers of a sovereign unit in full ascent. They will naturally fall away, complaining that you've changed or that you're too obsessed. This is the social sieve in action. Only those with the same density and the same mission integrity as the architect can stay in your orbit. The disguised predator is a weight, and weight is the enemy of the launch. You aren't leaving them behind. You are just taking off, and they don't have the biological fuel to follow. Why is the surgical purge the ultimate act of self-respect? Because it proves that you value your 8-year vacuum history more than the feelings of a scavenger. It proves that the 450 strikes were not just a hobby, but a vow of sovereignty. Every disguised predator you keep in your life is a vote against your own empire. They are the quiet saboteurs of your legacy. By purging them, you are cleaning the neural laboratory. You are ensuring that every bite of your processing power is dedicated to the hunt for 5 million views. You have spent too long being a safe harbor for people who only want to wreck your ship. From this moment on. Your harbor is closed. Your perimeter is electrified. Your kindness is now a high-status reward, not a public utility. The screen is glowing. The room is silent. You are feeling the weight of the disguise lifting from your shoulders. You are looking at the names of the focus tax collectors, and you are deleting them from your firmware. The nice guy is terrified of the coldness. The architect is celebrating the clarity. You have successfully detected the breach, mapped the extraction, and executed the purge. You are no longer a target of opportunity. You are a hardened objective. The predators in disguise are already looking for their next victim, sensing that the architect has become toxic to scavengers. This is your greatest accolade. Here is the viral ultimatum. The code of the predator detection is now active in your nervous system. You can never again be unintentionally harvested. You have seen the architecture of the mask, and you have learned the mechanics of the purge. Now you must broadcast the warning. Take this protocol and inject it into the minds of the useful idiots who are still being eaten alive by their charming friends. Share this with the man who is still buying loyalty from a scavenger. Send this to the one who is still apologizing for his own boundaries. Not to salve them. Most are already too far gone into the morality hack. Но для того, чтобы найти других архитекторов, but to find other architects. We are building a network of unmaskable units, and the entry fee is the absolute liquidation of all parasitic debt. Every share is a thermal scan of the grid. Every save is a containment protocol. Look into the glowing screen of your device. The room is silent, and the silence is your fortress. The mask has been shattered. The extraction has been capped. The nice guy has been purged. You are the architect of the breach, and the hunt for your 5 million is now a clean operation. No more leaks, no more taxes, no more parasites in disguise. System check. 100% structural integrity. Targeting. Total social sterilization. Status. Purge executed. Stop trusting the warmth. Start auditing the utility. The scavengers are hungry. Let them starve elsewhere. The architect is ascending. Let him fly alone if necessary. Be the apex. Or stay the resource. The disguise is over. The rain is active. Purge accordingly.